I don't know if I'm the only one that's realized, but the game is done. Like the game is completely done. The jig is up. And you may ask, what game? When I say the game, I'm probably talking about everything. Almost everything in the world has just reached this strange point where it's like, you know, in a video game when you complete all the missions in GTA and now you're just kind of walking around aimlessly. That's how it truly feels right now in life. We've been afforded every comfort that you can have, every luxury. Um, Poor people have been able to look completely into the lives of rich people, and I guess the other way around as well. Every bit of information that was before, you know, secret knowledge, niche knowledge that you needed certain type of access for is out in the open. You can, we're not even talking about Google anymore. You can use ChatGPT to find out anything in an instant. You can use AI to replace so many different things, you know. So it's just like the game is up. It's this almost like I feel like there's this general and genuine feeling of like, okay, what now? People don't have purpose anymore. There is nothing really to work for. You know, the birth rates are all plummeting. They're all going down crazy because there is a genuine feeling of what's the point? What are we doing all this for? You know, people's money's going nowhere. Inflation is, you know, everyone just realized that this game is rigged. There's no point, right? And if you want to start going to specifics, if you look at the music industry, it's like, what's going on? You know, Drake's been at the top for however many years now, and I can't see how somebody would overtake that spot. But again, it's just so uninspiring what he's putting out, what's being put out from the top of the game. I remember I used to be so inspired as a kid with music and just think it was so otherworldly and something that you could never reach and never reach. Now I'm asking myself, would I even want to? You look at the fashion industry, the same thing just being recycled and spewed out over and over again. You look at football, the game that, you know, I once loved, that I thought was life. I'm not looking at it and I can just see through everything. I'm just like, what is going on? You know what I mean? The game's lost. Yeah, as you can see, there's excellence, but it's not the same, you know? And I want to use that as a little moment just to say a little realization that I had, I don't know how long ago, but when I was coming up, I grew up in such an era where, you know, almost everyone at the top of whatever game that I was interested in was so elite, it felt otherworldly. It felt like that's something that you can never attain. If we're talking about football, Lionel Messi and Ronaldo, the two best ever to have existed in football coming up, you know. If you ever played football coming up in the UK in the academy system, you know how hard it was for someone to even make their debut. Now it's the norm, you know what I mean? They're farming the kids and, you know, trying to get the money out of 16, whatever it may be, you know. That's just one example. When I came up and the music that was at the top of the game, Kanye West, Lil Wayne, Eminem, 50 Cent when I was a little bit younger, like really young, and it was just like, it just felt like, yo, like that's some, you can't even ever be in a room with these people. They're doing something that is like, I used to think that maybe they've been brought here from another planet just to do that thing because they were so bigger than life through their art, through their whatever else. And life had a perfect balance back then of, even up until I'd say the introduction of social media, of like, you know, real life and, you know, entertainment and social media, you know, and just leisurely things that gave us a break, that gave us a perfect balance. Things were distant enough, but yet also close enough through TV, having the internet and everything else to experience it at a healthy balance. The scale tipped at some point and now it's way too much access, way too much convenience. So, you know, when you have too much of something, you can't even appreciate it. You know what I mean? If it was hot all the time, you would hate it because you have nothing to, you need cold in order to appreciate the hot. You know what I mean? You need to be able to feel hungry in order to be able to appreciate food and eating good food. We don't have that anymore. We're never bored anymore. You need to be bored in order to appreciate and recognize a good time. We're so plugged in now that we don't have the lack of anymore. So we can't even appreciate the abundance. We can't, it's not possible. It's gone way too far. We're never bored anymore. We're never hungry anymore. We're never confused anymore and having to go figure something out. All these things have been removed. And as you can look around, what's the result? A lifeless society, a society with no real culture, a society where everyone is all just doing everything simply for profit and for external validation. Everything has had the life sucked out of it because of that thing. Too much of anything is not good. And we're too fortunate, we're too blessed, we're too entitled. You know what I mean? And again, because of that, everything is bad. Everything is bad. Look at the iPhone here. Like, if you don't believe me, just look at the iPhone. When the iPhone starts falling off, you know there's a problem. No innovation, no anything, just more new model every year because there's a need for it. And I was literally just making a point. I don't know, probably about 2-3 minutes ago, and I started rambling on. But I'm glad that that's brought me back to the basis. When I was growing up, I used to see these things of excellence and think, wow, like in order to reach that level, you have to be able to attain that level, right? But as I grew up, I came to realize that life is just like school. Every single year there has to be a new set of students brought into the school so that the system can keep working, right? So every new year, there's a bunch of year 11s that finish school, and there's a bunch of new year 7s that start the school. And everything in life is the exact same, whether it's sports, whether it's music, whether it's anything, in the financial world, anything requires for there to be a new bunch of elites every so often. And that's not dependent on how high that elite level is. Do you get what I'm trying to say? So what I mean by that is that when Messi and Ronaldo finished up, their legacies, obviously Ronaldo's still playing, but you understand what I mean not as the GOAT, as the contender. When they left those spots now have to be filled, regardless of whether there's people that are good enough on their level, whatever, to fill those spots in order for the game, for the system to be able to carry on working. So therefore, whoever was next up has to fill that slot. I guess Neymar was a bit too close to their age because he started finishing up a little bit after them as well. So naturally, the people that have to now fill that spot is the Vinicius and the Mbappe. And I've got to be careful talking about Mbappe right now because he's really starting to live up to his name again. However, it's still not the same thing, you know what I mean? But that spot has to be filled. You get what I'm trying to say? Same thing with music, right? I'd say the last generation of really good artists, like iconic artists, memorable artists, generational artists, I'd say it was like that. I think maybe that 2016 class, maybe of XXL. So like Lil Uzi, 21 Savage, Kodak Black, Playboi Carti, all cold, sick individual artists, so sick, right? However, I would say that since then, there hasn't been anything else of that ilk, but the slots still have to keep being filled, right? So now I don't really know anybody now from these new underground things until I get it brought to my attention or I see it. I know you have new people like Osama Son, and like Netspend and people like that, right? But the quality isn't the same. However, the slot of young, turned rebellious, new age, whatever that has to be filled. So even if it's subpar, it still has to be filled. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Right. So, I hope I've kind of painted a picture of what is going on or what I believe is going on. And now we're going to have to talk about okay, cool. What is the step? What's going forward now? If you look on social media, it's becoming hard even for myself. And I like myself to be quite a discerning individual, right? It's hard for me sometimes to look at it and be like, well, is that AI or is that real? I have to look at certain movements, and that's right now. That's very, very scary, all right? I don't consider myself a dummy, but I've been tricked. So that tells you it's going to be more and more difficult to discern, and also it's just getting more powerful, so jobs are being replaced and everything else. The life has been sucked out of every industry, out of every endeavor that people are in. So the only thing that's going to remain and win moving forward from this point onwards is 100% authenticity. 100% authenticity. Raw authenticity, showing people good and bad, nothing too polished. I'm not saying, give these people your whole life, because I feel like that wave is even dying now. People coming out and trading their whole privacy in order for notoriety or for views and for clicks. Oh, come and look at my mum, come and look at my family. No, you're not hearing like that. But what I believe is the only thing that's going to cut through the noise and is going to, cut the fat away is 100% raw truth. The individuals that are brave enough and comfortable enough with themselves to bring an authentic version of themselves to the world to inspire others to come and do the same. The people that can combine all their weird and quirky little interests and niches into one and build a world around that and allow other people to come and join that and inspire other people to do the same. To be a human being is one of the most complicated thing probably in our existence. You know what I mean? We're not single layered like people. We have all these different things that make us who we are. But I feel like people have become so primed to an Instagram aesthetic or Pinterest, whatever it may be, that they just force themselves through this channel. Everything has to be through that. Right now we're doing get ready with me videos in our pants. Next week, the new trend is to go and take a It's too much. The people that are going to win from this point onwards are the people that are going to see that, hear that noise and be like, I don't care about none of that. This is what I'm doing. This is what I'm truly on. Regardless of what the views are saying, regardless of what the engagement's saying, whatever else, right? We all know that all these algorithms are rigged and made up literally just to keep us down and feeling like we're not good enough and everything else. So again, the jig is up. We all inherently know it's not worth anything, you know? So it's going to be the people that can go against that hold that it has over emotions and be like, no, fuck that. We're doing us. We're doing what we want to do. I'll control computers, whatever, don't control me. This is what I'm doing. I'm giving you my raw self. Whoever likes it. Whoever doesn't, fuck off. And they're going to be the people. They're going to be the people that inspire others to be their real self again, to pick up hobbies that they don't need to monetize off of. I've fallen in love with boxing in like the last 2 years. Like, I'm not trying to monetize boxing. I actually spend quite a bit of money on it, but it makes me feel great. It makes me feel like return back to my inner child. It puts me back in the state of learning. You know what I mean? It puts me back into the state of a mind and body connection. It puts me back into the state of watching what I'm doing so that I can improve on it. It puts me back into the state of being a student and listening to somebody who clearly knows more than me and constantly drilling that. At the same time, I'm a fashion designer, right? The two don't really have much to do with one another. It might not really make sense, but I don't know. In that time, I've made some great connections with some great people and had some great conversations. Them giving me tips, pointers, whatever like that. I've got customers who I didn't even know, who are customers anyway, who I didn't even know are boxers, whatever else. I'm now going to sponsor my first athlete, you know what I mean? With my brand Adroit. So it's like, you know, and it makes me feel alive, it makes me feel good. Watching it makes me feel great. It kind of has returned me back to kind of like watching sport and everything else. So, you know, at the same time, you guys know I'm into philosophy and I really care about, you know, just bettering the mind and making the mind equipped to handle what the world is throwing at us. So, yeah, I guess all these things combined are my own thing, and I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck to participate in any of these weird games. I don't participate. I don't have any interest in making a computer algorithm that's run by nerds and run by leaks that could never ever stand in front of me and shake my hand and look me in the eye. I don't have no interest in letting systems that are built by those people, letting them control me and being a part of this circus. I understand that there's a limited amount of time that we've got on this planet, on planet Earth, and that we're probably living in the most accessible time ever where you can just get up and do stuff. So I'm gonna take my shot. I'm gonna do what I want to do. I'm gonna do what makes me feel fulfilled. When I go to sleep at night, I feel good about myself every single time. When I look in the mirror, I feel good. You know what I mean? A lot of people pretend, but for those that know, they know. We can see the tell signs. I love myself. I love my life, and I remember it wasn't always like that, and I had to put in work to get to that point. So a part of my mission, I guess, is just to kind of give back and pay forward what helped me out. You know, but regardless, I don't know. I don't really know what I'm going with all of this, but what I'm saying was to say is that, like, yo, man, this shit is over with. It's over with, and if I can give you any advice is that if you want to, you know, save yourself from the sinking ship, this is what to do. Add your philosophy.